Hey, let me ask you something. Do cover letters actually make a difference? Now I know with online applications and stuff, they're not even required as much as they used to be, but there are still places that require cover letters. And you may sit there and craft the perfect one, spending hours doing so. But is it going to make a difference? Let me tell you a story. Several years ago, there was a 20-plus year veteran of the web development industry, and he decided it was time for a change. He wanted to leave that profession and go into pursuits that were more creative, because from an early age, he had been very creative. Now, you have to understand, in the early days of the web, like we're talking the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a cornucopia of opportunities to be creative for a web developer. I mean, they often had to write the website copy, come up with the graphics, choose the color scheme, ideate on all kinds of new features for the site. For a creative person, it was an amazing time to be a web developer. But then, as the web grew and corporate websites became more complicated, the teams grew that put them together. You start adding marketing teams and graphics teams and art teams, and that poor web developer suddenly found that they were regulated pretty much to just coding. In fact, if they had creative ideas and suggestions, they were often dismissed and just not given value because it's just a code guy, what do you know? So this web developer did try to use his creativity in other things, his personal projects, some volunteer projects, did everything he could to try to express that creativity, but it just wasn't enough. He wanted to make a real difference, to make a big impact. And so he decided it was time for a change. Well, he stumbled across a creative agency in his own community, and this one was a good one. He was impressed by the client list, the portfolio they had, attracted by the corporate culture they had set up, and he found himself just craving the opportunity to be able to get into creative flow with a team of similar creatives. And so he applied for a writing position. Now, he knew that his resume, being primarily web development, was going to pale in comparison to, well, pretty much any other applicant they got. So he decided, look, let me take my creativity and put it into the cover letter. And so he did. He started his cover letter out with a hook likely never used in the history of cover letters. Quote, "Wait, this has to be a mistake," unquote. He then followed it up by pointing out the obvious glaring disparity of a web developer applying for a writing position. He went on to explain how it had been so creative in web development, but over the intervening years, it had just faded out and left him really frustrated. He pleaded for asylum. He started listing all the creative projects he had done pretty much since he was a baby on up to today. He even made a humorous, self-deprecating remark about brevity as he neared completion of the second full page of the letter. He finally summed up the letter with a challenging analogy and even managed to weave the name of the firm right into the final sentence. But then he ended with a simple ask. Not hire me, make me part of your team, bring me in. Just a simple ask. And he said, quote, "It's worth a conversation, don't you think?" Unquote. This developer was convinced that he had just written the greatest cover letter of all time. He grabbed his resume, put it together, and he sent it to that firm, sat back, and eagerly anticipated the response. One never came. So I ask you, does a cover letter really make a difference? I mean, after that experience, that devastated developer certainly didn't think so, and he may have had a point. You see, in the past, there was this huge art, unique art to putting together a cover letter. You would weave flowing, elegant words in with familiar corporate speak in an effort to shine the brightest light on your skills, no matter how mundane. and to also hopefully check off some of the boxes that the recruiters were looking for. Think of it as kind of a stylized painting with words. But hey, right now we're in the age of authenticity, right? Everybody's got to be authentic. So those flowing words and corporate speak do little more than just raise alarm bells and sound hollow and predictable. So what is the solution? Well, one option could be to capitalize on the whole social media trend. I mean, TikTok and Instagram Reels, and even before that, YouTube and Facebook have all made social media video into a very common thing. It is a way people use all the time to show themselves and express their opinions. So what if instead of sending a written cover letter, we were to use a video, a social media video to be that cover letter? I mean, you even already see it in business. There are video sales letters and the use of the Loom app, which brings video right into email. Now, it's not going to solve all the authenticity issues because, I mean, let's face it, there's some really good actors out there. But it's going to be more difficult for a candidate to hide behind flowy words. Second option may be a resume rewrite. What if we were to present our resume in a more narrative tone? Instead of just listing the positions and dates and skills and give it a static explanation of responsibilities, let's personalize it. Let's describe how we feel as we got into that position and the abilities we had entering that position. Let's outline the struggles that we had, the challenges we had, the growth that we had during that time. And let's candidly share why we ended that position. Whether you ended or not, whether you were fired, whether you chose to leave, let's just be open and honest on why you no longer had that position. And then what motivated you to move on to the next position. So basically, instead of listing our accomplishments, we're telling our story. No cover letter needed. So what do you think? What do you think is going to be the future of cover letters, and what should be the future of cover letters? Should we continue with the traditional cover letter? Should we switch to using video cover letters? Should we just rewrite our resume in a narrative way and just eliminate the need for cover letters altogether? Or should we just keep resumes the way they are and just ditch the cover letter because what's the point? So let me know what you think. Drop in the comments below. Let's get a discussion going. Let's see what you think the future of cover letters is. Hey, you may even have a great new evolution that we haven't even thought about yet. Let's put our ideas together, and together we can take the cover letter issue and have it, well, covered.